Fans are out in full force for the big game, probably the biggest in years. They've been waiting for nearly a decade to see the Broncos back in the playoffs. The arrivals of Sean Payton and Bo Nix are finally giving Broncos country some optimism as they head into the postseason.
I've been waiting for years and years to see it happen. And Bo Nix is the fix. Bo Nix is the fix.
Broncos to the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. We're feeling great. Bo Nix to the moon. Bo Nix to the promised land.
Broncos!
Broncos country. Let's go! Let's go!
You can feel that optimism. We'll have much more on the Broncos' big win coming up in sports and at 10:35 on Broncos Tonight.
Well, everybody felt the weather, snow yesterday, and this was the frosty start to the day today. Our own Ann Herbst capturing these pictures. She was out hiking on Table Mountain today along with her dog Gidget and caught some of that beautiful frost that many people had got a chance to see. Carl Lamb's with us now with a look at what we saw today and what's coming our way this week.
Yeah, well, we have another shot of snow on the way, but right now it's a calm and clear night. It's 21 at DIA, feels like 12 even with just a light wind kicking up across the region. Here are current temperatures right now. It's 1 degree in Sterling, it's 17 in Colorado Springs, 9 in Gunnison, and 21 in Saguache. So again, colder air settling in for tonight. There's a rebound as we go into the day tomorrow, but not for long because the sun returns, but then it's a slick drive for Tuesday morning and a blast of cold air. It's kind of like someone left the freezer door open. That's what's headed our way. Snow for Tuesday gets going late Monday evening, like very late, but it's the real prime focus for Tuesday morning during the rush hour commute, and it's definitely a slow go on the roads for Tuesday morning. That's your heads up now to plan ahead. We'll have that full 7-day forecast coming up in a little bit.
All right, Carl, thanks. Victim advocates and immigration attorneys want people to know about options available to people without documentation who are victims of crimes.
In some cases, they can receive legal immigration status in the U.S. Here's 9 News reporter Angeline McCall.
Just a few weeks ago, a home invasion in Aurora where 2 Venezuelans were kidnapped and assaulted. In crimes like this, immigration attorneys and advocates want people to know when they do step forward to report crime, it could lead to more than just charges.
There are also benefits that are available and some sort of protection that's available to folks who have reported crimes.
McKenna Newsom-Schoenberg works with the Justice and Mercy Legal Aid Center, also known as JAMLAC, to help people submit immigration applications after they are victims of crime.
It's really important, right? And so you've survived something that could be terribly traumatic.
Some victims may be eligible to apply for a U visa if they cooperate with the police investigation. It's typically for more serious crimes, including kidnapping and felony level assaults.
Reporting a crime to law enforcement can be scary and intimidating, but it is really important for a plethora of reasons that we continue to loop law enforcement in when there's something that is criminal going on in our lives.
There's currently around 300,000 applications pending, with a wait time of about 30 years.
You know, hearing that number I think can be discouraging at face value, right? Hearing 30 years is not something that we want to hear.
But some people can receive a work permit before a final decision is made.
I think the prospect of being able to potentially get a work permit to work lawfully in this country is a huge motivator for people.
Ultimately, the protection can mean victims are less fearful to come forward and hopefully curb crime in the process.
Some sort of justice can come from reporting these crimes, I think is really important, and I think that's kind of at the foundation of why we have these benefits in place for folks.
Besides a U visa, there are other options for people depending on their circumstances. People can apply for a VAWA if they're abused at the hands of a U.S. citizen or a lawful resident who is their spouse, and that process takes about 3 years. And there is another visa available as well for victims of trafficking who are undocumented. Angeline McCall, 9 News.
Angeline, thank you. We're continuing to learn some new information about the man who committed the deadly truck attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day. The FBI says he had visited the city twice leading up to the attack and recorded video on Bourbon Street. The FBI sharing this latest video that Shamsuddin Jabbar recorded via Meta Smart glasses. Officials say he visited once in October and once in November before returning to carry out the attack that killed 14 people. The FBI says Jabbar was wearing the glasses during the attack as well, but he did not record it. Officials also shared video of Jabbar planting 2 improvised explosive devices on Bourbon Street. Those did not detonate.
Today, mourners in Atlanta paid their respects to the late President Jimmy Carter. Yesterday, Carter's remains traveled from rural Georgia to the Carter Presidential Center in Atlanta, where his family held a private ceremony. Now, a steady stream of mourners are saying their final farewells to the 39th president. The public is allowed to visit anytime, day or night, until early Tuesday morning. Then, President Carter's casket will be flown to Washington to lie in state in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol before the national funeral service on Thursday.
9 News reporter Rachel Krauss joins us now. Rachel, millions of Americans are coming out to support and honor President Carter's service to the nation.
Yeah, in the days since President Carter's death, people around the country are recalling his accomplishments, his diplomacy, and humanitarian work. But those in the medical community remember the former president's impact, raising awareness of a new cancer treatment a decade earlier when it helped to save his life.
When President Jimmy Carter announced in 2015 his diagnosis of a cancer known as metastatic melanoma, Dr. Sapna Patel with the University of Colorado says the outlook for patients was bleak.
And the 5-year survival was pretty grim. It was, only about 1 in 5 cancer metastatic melanoma patients survived to 5 years.
But President Carter told the country he'd be trying a new cutting-edge cancer treatment, immunotherapy.
So President Carter was actually being treated with therapy that was fairly innovative at the time.
Patel says melanoma is most common on the skin, but can pop up in spots like your eyes or mouth. With metastatic melanoma, the cancer has spread, making it far more dangerous and far less common.
It actually makes up only 3% of all melanoma diagnoses.
Through his own journey, President Carter spread awareness about this groundbreaking new treatment. Dr. Patel says it helped that the former president had access to some of the world's best doctors and that medical technology had advanced to treat his disease.
It was actually really good timing. So pembrolizumab was approved right around the time he was getting diagnosed. And it turns out in his case, it really did cure him, that in combination with the radiation to the brain.
A cure that's since turned survival rates for metastatic melanoma around.
Now, 4 in 5 metastatic melanoma patients who have the response that President Carter had are now surviving 10 years with their melanoma. So we are now thinking it's appropriate to use the term cure.
What was cutting edge is now standard of care, capable of saving far more lives along the way.
We've now moved on to combining it with other therapies. So we might use 2 immunotherapies together. We get an even stronger response and potentially even a higher cure rate. We are changing the face of this disease.
Dr. Patel says watching the evolution of metastatic melanoma go from a death sentence for patients to a treatable cancer has been amazing to witness. She says immunotherapy treatments are expanding, yes, and already helping treat other cancers, including lung, kidney, and certain forms of colon cancer. She hopes it can continue to help many more people worldwide, just like it helped President Carter. Rachel Krauss, 9 News.